The Awakening. The hum of ancient machinery filled the air as cryopods hissed open one by one. Commander Elena Vega's eyes fluttered, adjusting to the dim blue light that bathed the vast chamber. Her mind, foggy from millennia of suspended animation, struggled to piece together fragmented memories. As she sat up, the last wisps of cryogenic mist dissipating around her, a single thought crystallized. They had survived. Elena's gaze swept across the rows of awakening humans. Thousands of cryopods lined the cavernous underground facility, each containing a carefully selected individual chosen to preserve the essence of humanity. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and artists. The best Earth had to offer when faced with imminent destruction. As more of her comrades stirred to life, Elena's training kicked in. She was their leader, chosen to guide humanity in this new era. "Status report," she called out, her voice hoarse from disuse. Dr. Aiden Chen, chief scientist of the Exodus Project, approached on unsteady legs. "Commander," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "initial readings show we've been in stasis for 49,876 years." The number hit Elena like a physical blow. Nearly 50 millennia had passed since they'd flooded a dying Earth, their homeworld under attack by the merciless Galactic Council. She pushed the shock aside, focusing on the present and our new home. Aiden tapped at a nearby console, bringing up holographic displays of a lush Earth-like planet. Kepler 186f is everything our probes promised. Breathable atmosphere, abundant fresh water, diverse ecosystems. It's perfect. As the rest of the facility hummed to life, Elena organized teams to assess their situation. Engineers inspected the vast underground complex that had sheltered them for so long. Medical staff tended to those struggling with the aftereffects of prolonged stasis, and scouts, led by Major Zara Okoi, prepared to venture onto the surface of their new world. Hours later, Elena stood at the massive airlock that separated their underground haven from the alien world above. Zara's team, clad in environmental suits, waited for her order. With a nod from Elena, the outer doors slowly ground open, revealing a landscape bathed in the light of a distant red dwarf star. Rolling hills covered in blue-green vegetation stretched to the horizon. Twin moons hung in the pink sky, silent sentinels over this untouched world. As Zara's team took their first steps onto alien soil, a collective breath was held by those watching the feed from below. "My God," Zara's voice crackled over the comm. "It's beautiful." For a moment, Elena allowed herself to feel hope. They had a chance here, a new beginning for humanity. But as the initial wonder faded, her thoughts turned to the monumental task ahead. They needed to build a civilization from scratch, all while preparing for the day they would face those who had driven them from their home. In the days that followed, the human refugees emerged from their underground shelter in carefully coordinated groups. They established a base camp, began mapping the surrounding area, and took stock of the resources at their disposal. To Elena's relief, the automated systems had functioned flawlessly during their long sleep, preserving not only their lives, but also the vast library of human knowledge and technology they had brought with them. It was during the excavation of a nearby hillside for raw materials that they made a discovery that would change everything. Major Okoi's team uncovered a metallic structure buried deep within the earth, its design unmistakably artificial and not of human origin. Elena stood at the entrance of the unearthed facility, her heart racing. "Dr. Chen, what are we looking at here?" Aiden's eyes were wide with excitement as he studied the readings on his handheld scanner. "It's incredible, Commander. This structure predates our arrival by at least 1,000,000 years. The technology, it's far beyond anything we've ever seen." As they ventured deeper into the alien complex, holographic interfaces sprang to life, responding to their presence. Aiden worked feverishly to decipher the alien language, aided by advanced translation algorithms. "Commander," he called out, his voice trembling, "I think I've found something. It's a message. left for whoever might find this place. The hologram coalesced into a humanoid figure, tall and lithe, with iridescent skin and large expressive eyes. When it spoke, the words were translated into perfect English. To those who discover our legacy, we offer both hope and warning. We are the Forerunners, and we once spanned the stars. But our civilization fell to a great darkness, the same darkness that now threatens all life in the galaxy. We created this sanctuary and others like it, seeding them with the knowledge and technology to stand against the coming storm. Use what we have left behind wisely, for the enemy we failed to defeat still lurks in the void between worlds. The message continued, explaining how to access the vast database of Forerunner knowledge and technology. As the implications sank in, Alina felt a mix of awe and trepidation. They had stumbled upon the means to not only rebuild human civilization, but to surpass its greatest achievements. In the weeks that followed, human scientists and engineers worked around the clock to understand and adapt the Forerunner technology. They discovered plans for faster-than-light drives, energy weapons that could shatter planets, and defenses that could withstand the fury of collapsing stars. But it was the historical archives that truly shook them to their core. They learned of the Galactic Council, an ancient alliance of species that had once been a force for peace and progress in the galaxy. But over millions of years, it had become corrupt and tyrannical, enforcing its will through genocide and oppression. Earth's destruction, they discovered, had not been an isolated incident. The Council had wiped out countless civilizations it deemed a threat to its power. Humanity's crime had been its rapid advancement and unwillingness to bow to Council authority. As Alina absorbed this knowledge, a fire ignited within her. The grief for Earth, for all they had lost, crystallized into a burning determination. Humanity would rise again, armed with the legacy of the Forerunners and their own indomitable spirit, and they would bring justice to those who had sought to exterminate them. In a speech to her people, Alina laid out the path forward. We came here seeking refuge, a chance to preserve the spark of humanity. But we found so much more. We've been given the tools to reclaim our place among the stars and to stand against the tyranny that cost us our home. It won't be easy. The road ahead is long and fraught with danger. But we are the children of Earth, inheritors of a legacy that spans millions of years. We will rebuild, we will remember, and we will return. The next few years were a whirlwind of activity. The alien world they now called Nova Terra was transformed. Cities rose from the plains, built with materials harder than diamond and technologies that seemed like magic. Shipyards took shape in orbit, constructing vessels that could cross the galaxy in the blink of an eye. All the while, they prepared for war. Every child born on Nova Terra grew up learning not only the history of Earth, but also the art of combat and the intricacies of starship operations. They were the first generation of a new humanity, one tempered by loss and hardened by purpose. Alina, though she had initially resisted the idea, underwent a series of treatments derived from Forerunner technology. Her aging slowed to a crawl, ensuring she would live to see their mission through. Many of the other original colonists did the same, becoming living links to the world they had lost. As their strength grew, they sent out stealth probes to gauge the state of the galaxy. The reports they received were grim. The Galactic Council's oppression had only grown worse in the millennia since Earth's fall. Entire species labored under its yoke, while others had been wiped out for daring to resist. On the eve of launching their first extrasolar mission, Alina stood before a great monument they had erected in the heart of their capital city. It was a perfect holographic recreation of Earth, eternally spinning, forever out of reach. She placed her hand on the cool surface of the projector, feeling the weight of all they had lost and all they hoped to reclaim. "We're coming home," she whispered, a promise to the ghosts of the past and a declaration of intent to the universe at large. As the sun set on Nova Terra, casting long shadows across the gleaming spires of their reborn civilization, humanity stood poised on the brink of a new chapter. They were no longer refugees hiding from a hostile galaxy. They were Avengers, armed with the knowledge of the ancients and driven by an unquenchable thirst for justice. The Galactic Council, in its arrogance, believed it had extinguished the human race. It was about to learn how wrong it was. Humanity was returning to the cosmic stage, and the stars themselves would tremble at their awakening. The preparation. The orbital shipyards of Novaterra bustled with activity, a testament to humanity's rebirth. Massive vessels took shape against the backdrop of alien stars, their sleek forms incorporating both Forerunner technology and human ingenuity. Commander Elena Vega watched from the observation deck of Nova Prime, the central command station, as the latest addition to their fleet underwent its final checks. "The Horizon is ready for her maiden voyage," Commander reported Admiral Kenzo Tanaka, his holographic form flickering to life beside her. Elena nodded, her eyes fixed on the dagger-shaped warship. "And the crew? Hand-picked from our best and brightest. They'd been training in simulations for years. They're ready." The Horizon was more than just a warship. It was humanity's first step back into the galactic stage, a scout ship designed to gather intelligence and test their new technologies against whatever they might encounter. "Launch in 6 hours," Elena ordered. "Make sure they understand the gravity of their mission. We can't afford any mistakes." As Tanaka's hologram winked out, Elena's mind drifted to the enormity of what they were undertaking. In the 2 decades since their awakening on Novaterra, they had accomplished what should have taken centuries. Cities sprawled across the planet's surface, home to a population that now numbered in the millions. Their technology had advanced by leaps and bounds, fueled by the knowledge left behind by the Forerunners and the burning desire for vengeance that drove them all. But Elena knew that technology alone wouldn't be enough. They needed warriors, strategists, and leaders capable of facing the challenges ahead. That's why she had instituted the Prometheus program. Deep beneath the surface of Novaterra, in hardened bunkers designed to withstand orbital bombardment, the next generation of humanity's defenders was being forged. Elena made her way through security checkpoints, eventually reaching the central training arena. Inside, holographic projectors created a hellish landscape. Simulated enemies swarmed over blasted terrain as trainee squads fought for survival. Elena's eyes were drawn to one figure in particular, a young woman moving with preternatural speed and precision, her actions anticipating the enemy's moves before they happened. "Cadet Zhou Chen," came a voice from beside Elena. It was General Isaac Okoye, son of the late Major Zara Okoye, and overseer of the Prometheus program. Top of her class in every category. Some are already calling her the perfect soldier. Elena watched as Zhou single-handedly turned the tide of the simulated battle, her movements a blur of lethal efficiency. "She's Aiden's granddaughter, isn't she?" Isaac nodded. "The first of what some are calling the Novaborn to reach maturity. The combination of our advanced gene therapies and the environmental factors of Novaterra have led to some interesting developments." As if to emphasize his point, Zhou leaped an impossible distance, crossing a chasm to take out an enemy sniper nest. Her reflexes and strength were clearly beyond normal human limits. Are they still human? Elena mused, more to herself than to Isaac. "They're the future," Isaac replied firmly. "The edge we'll need against the Galactic Council." Elena couldn't argue with that. She had seen the reports from their long-range probes. The Council's military might was staggering, their control over the galaxy nearly absolute. Humanity would need every advantage they could get. As the simulation wound down, Elena addressed the assembled trainees. Looking into their young faces, she saw the same fire, the same determination that had driven her for all these years. "You are the shield that will protect humanity," she began, her voice carrying across the arena. "And you are the sword that will strike at the heart of those who sought to destroy us. The path ahead is dangerous, but I have faith in each and every one of you. Remember why we fight. Remember Earth." A chorus of "For Earth" echoed through the chamber, the passion in their voices sending a chill down Elena's spine. These young warriors, born light years from humanity's lost homeworld, were ready to die for a planet they had never seen. Back in her private quarters, Alina reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The Horizon's mission was crucial. They needed to establish covert outposts in key systems, gather up-to-date information on Council movements, and potentially make contact with other species who might be sympathetic to their cause. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," she called out. Dr. Aiden Chen stepped inside, looking barely a day older than when they had first awakened on Novaterra, thanks to the longevity treatments they had all undergone. But his eyes carried the weight of the years and the burden of the knowledge he carried. "Alina," he said, dispensing with formalities, "we've made a breakthrough." He activated a holographic display, showing a complex molecular structure rotating slowly in the air between them. "We've cracked the final piece of the Forerunner genome database. With this, we can push human evolution even further. Stronger, faster, more resilient to the rigors of space and combat." Alina studied the display, a mix of emotions washing over her. Side effects. Aiden hesitated. Some. Increased aggression. Potential loss of empathy. But we can mitigate those with careful psychological conditioning. "You're talking about creating superhumans, Aiden. Weapons. I'm talking about giving us a fighting chance," he countered, his voice rising. "The Council wiped us out once before. We can't let that happen again. Whatever it takes, Alina. Whatever it takes." Alina closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. When she opened them again, her gaze was steel. "Do it, but keep it limited to volunteers for now. And Aiden, make sure we don't lose our humanity in the process of saving it." As Aiden left, Alina turned to the window, looking out at the alien world that had become their home. She thought of Earth, of the billions lost, of the vengeance that had driven them for so long. But she also thought of the future they were fighting for, a free humanity taking its place among the stars. The next few months saw a flurry of activity as the first wave of their plan was put into motion. The Horizon successfully established hidden bases in several key systems, using advanced cloaking technology to evade Council patrols. The intelligence they gathered painted a grim picture of life under Council rule, but it also revealed potential weaknesses to exploit. Meanwhile, on Novaterra, the first volunteers for the Enhanced Soldier Program began their treatments. The results were both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Soldiers who could shrug off wounds that would have been fatal before, who could operate in the vacuum of space without suits for short periods, who could process information and react at speeds that seemed impossible. But there were costs. Some volunteers struggled with their newfound abilities, their minds unable to cope with the changes to their bodies. Others became cold, distant, viewing their unenhanced comrades as something less than human. It was a stark reminder of the fine line they were walking. As the day of reckoning drew nearer, Alina found herself spending more time at the Earth Monument. She stood before it now, watching the holographic representation of their lost home spinning slowly. "You once told me that we had to keep moving forward," came a voice from behind her. Alina turned to see Zhou Chen approaching, her movements graceful and precise. "That we couldn't let the past consume us." Alina smiled sadly. Wise words. Sometimes I wonder if I'd lived up to them. Zhou stood beside her, her eyes fixed on the image of Earth. "You've given us purpose, Commander. A reason to push ourselves beyond what we thought possible. We're ready for whatever comes next." Alina studied the young woman beside her. Zhou represented the best of what they had become, brilliant, determined, and fiercely loyal to the cause. But there was also a hardness there, a single-minded focus that both impressed and concerned Alina. "Are we, Zhou, ready for what comes next?" Alina asked softly. "We're about to plunge the galaxy into war. Trillions may die before it's over." Zhou's response was immediate and unflinching. They made their choice when they destroyed Earth. Every species that stands with the Council is complicit in genocide. We'll give them a chance to stand aside, but if they choose to fight. She left the sentence unfinished, but her meaning was clear. Alina nodded, turning back to the monument. She knew that many shared Zhou's view. The years of preparation, of stoking the fires of vengeance, had created a generation ready and willing to bring the council to its knees. It was what they needed to survive. But Elena couldn't help but wonder about the cost to their collective soul. As if reading her thoughts, Zoe spoke again. "We haven't forgotten what it means to be human, Commander. We fight for justice, not just revenge. For the freedom of all sentient beings. The Council needs to be stopped, not just for us, but for every species they've oppressed or destroyed." Elena placed a hand on Zoe's shoulder, feeling a swell of pride. "You're right, of course. We carry a heavy burden, but also a great responsibility. We fight not just for our past, but for the future of the entire galaxy." As they stood there, silhouetted against the ghostly image of Earth, alarms began to sound throughout the complex. Elena's comm unit crackled to life. "Commander," came Admiral Tanaka's urgent voice, "we've received an emergency transmission from the horizon. They've made contact with a resistance movement. Aliens fighting against Council rule. But they've been discovered. Council warships are closing in on their position." Elena's mind raced, calculating options and potential outcomes. This was it. The moment when humanity would reveal itself to the galaxy once more. There would be no going back. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Launch the fleet. All ships. We're going in." As klaxons blared and Novaterra's military machine roared to life, Elena turned to Zoe. "It's time. Are you ready?" Zoe's eyes gleamed with a mixture of excitement and determination. "Born ready, Commander. For Earth." "For Earth," Elena echoed. "And for the future." As they strode towards the command center, humanity prepared to step onto the galactic stage once more. The Council had fought them extinct, a footnote in history. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Humanity was back, forged in the fires of loss and tempered by years of preparation. The galaxy would never be the same again. First contact. The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of light as the Novaterran fleet dropped out of FTL. Hundreds of ships, from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts, took up defensive positions around the beleaguered horizon. On the bridge of the flagship Nemesis, Commander Elena Vega surveyed the tactical hologram, her face set in grim determination. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Admiral Tanaka's fingers danced across his console. 5 Council warships closing in on the horizon's position. They've detected our arrival and are adjusting their formation. Elena nodded, her mind racing through potential strategies. This was the moment they had prepared for, but the stakes were higher than they could have imagined. Not only was the horizon at risk, but also their new alien allies, the first potential friends humanity had made in this hostile galaxy. "Open a channel to all ships," Elena commanded. As the comm officer signaled readiness, she took a deep breath. "This is Commander Vega to all Novaterran forces. The time has come to reveal ourselves to the galaxy. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. For Earth, for justice, and for the future of all free beings. Engage the enemy." The human fleet surged forward, their advanced Forerunner-derived technology allowing them to move with a speed and precision that caught the Council forces off guard. Zhou Chen, leading a squadron of elite fighters, was the first to engage. "Nova Squadron, form up on me," Zhou's voice crackled through the comms. "We'll clear a path for the horizon." Her squadron descended upon the Council ships like avenging angels, their energy weapons carving through shields and armor with terrifying efficiency. The Council fleet, caught between the hammer of the main Novaterran force and the anvil of Zhou's squadron, began to falter. On the Nemesis, Elena watched the battle unfold with a mixture of pride and concern. Their forces were performing admirably, but she knew this was just the beginning. "Admiral, status of the horizon." Tanaka's reply was tense. "They've taken heavy damage, Commander, but they're limping towards our lines." "Wait, we're receiving a transmission from the alien vessel they were protecting." A new hologram flickered to life on the bridge, revealing a being unlike any Elena had ever seen. Its body was serpentine, with iridescent scales and multiple limbs that seemed to shift and change as it moved. When it spoke, its voice was a melodious trill that the ship's translators rendered into crisp English. "I am Ambassador Xandril of the Galactic Resistance," the alien said, its multifaceted eyes blinking rapidly. "On behalf of all those who suffer under Council tyranny, we thank you for your intervention." "But who are you?" We had thought no spacefaring races remained outside Council control. Elena stepped forward, her posture straight and proud. "I am Commander Elena Vega of Novaterra. We are humanity, returned from the brink of extinction to reclaim our place among the stars and to bring justice to those who sought to destroy us." Xandril's body rippled in what Elena assumed was a gesture of surprise. "Humanity? But the histories speak of your kind being eradicated millennia ago. This is extraordinary." Their conversation was cut short as the bridge rocked from a heavy impact. The Council forces, recovering from their initial shock, had regrouped and were pressing their attack with renewed vigor. "We'll have time for introductions later, Ambassador," Elena said, turning back to the tactical display. "For now, I suggest you and the Horizon fall back behind our lines. We'll handle this." As the alien ship and the damaged Horizon retreated to safety, the full might of the Novaterran fleet was brought to bear. Ships armed with weapons reverse-engineered from Forerunner designs unleashed devastation upon the Council forces. Swarms of fighters, piloted by enhanced humans like Zoe, danced through the debris field, picking off stragglers and protecting their capital ships. In the span of an hour, the tide of battle had turned decisively. 4 of the 5 Council warships were reduced to drifting hulks, their crews either dead or frantically evacuating. The 5th, its engines crippled and weapons disabled, floated helplessly as the Nemesis approached. "Open a channel," Elena ordered, her voice hard. When the connection was established, she addressed the Council ship. "This is Commander Elena Vega of Novaterra. Your ships are destroyed, your forces defeated. Surrender now, and you will be treated in accordance with interstellar law." There was a long pause before a response came. The hologram that appeared showed a being that Elena recognized from historical records as a Yaxthal, one of the founding races of the Galactic Council. Its avian features were twisted in a mixture of fear and defiance. "I am Captain Krevan of the Galactic Council," it screeched. "We do not recognize your authority, human. Your kind was judged and found wanting millennia ago. You have no right to." Elena cut the transmission with a gesture, her patience exhausted. "Admiral Tanaka, disable their life support systems. Let's see how long they maintain that attitude when they're gasping for air." As Tanaka carried out her orders, Elena turned her attention back to the alien resistance ship. "Ambassador Xandril, I believe we have much to discuss. Would you and your delegation care to come aboard?" Hours later, in the Nemesis's conference room, Elena sat across from Xandril and a diverse group of aliens, each representing a different species that had suffered under Council rule. The atmosphere was tense, filled with equal parts hope and suspicion. Xandril spoke first, its body swaying gently. "You must understand our caution, Commander Vega. Your arrival is unprecedented. A species thought long dead, returning with technology that rivals or surpasses that of the Council. Many will wonder if you are liberators, or simply new conquerors." Elena leaned forward, her gaze intense. "We have no desire for conquest, Ambassador. Humanity knows all too well the pain of subjugation and genocide. We fight for freedom, our own, and that of all sentient beings who wish to live without the Council's boot on their necks." A being that looked like a cross between a bear and a squid raised a tentacle. "Pretty words," it rumbled. "But words are cheap. How do we know we can trust you?" "You don't," Elena replied bluntly. "Not yet. Trust must be earned. But consider this. We could have simply destroyed the Council ships and left you to your fate. Instead, we're here, offering an alliance. We have the technology, the weapons, and the will to bring the Council to its knees. All we ask is that you fight with us." The conference room erupted in a cacophony of alien voices, some arguing for caution, others for immediate action. Alina let them debate, watching the interplay of alien politics with keen interest. This was a crucial moment, the foundation of what could become a galactic alliance against Council tyranny. Finally, Xandrel raised a limb for silence. "We have much to consider, Commander. But know this, you have given hope to those who had none. Whatever comes next, you have changed the course of galactic history this day." As the alien delegation departed to discuss matters among themselves, Alina found herself alone with Zoe, who had been silently observing from a corner of the room. "What do you think?" Alina asked her protege. Zoe's eyes were calculating as she responded. "They're scared, desperate, but also hopeful. We can work with that." She paused, a hint of a smile playing at her lips. "You know, all those years of training, I never quite believed I'd be standing here, making first contact with alien species." Alina chuckled, feeling some of the tension leave her body. "Life has a way of surprising us, doesn't it? When I went into cryo-sleep all those millennia ago, I never imagined." She trailed off, her mind wandering to the enormity of their situation. Their moment of reflection was interrupted by an urgent comm from the bridge. "Commander," Tanaka's voice rang out, "we're detecting multiple FTL signatures. A large Council fleet is entering the system." Alina and Zoe shared a look of grim determination. "Well," Alina said, straightening her uniform, "it seems the real battle is about to begin. Are you ready?" Zoe's response was to activate her combat systems, her eyes glowing faintly as augmented reality overlays sprang to life. "Born ready, Commander. Let's show the Council what humanity is truly capable of." As they made their way to the bridge, alarms blaring throughout the ship, Alina felt a surge of emotions, fear, excitement, and a burning determination. Humanity had announced its return to the galactic stage in dramatic fashion. Now they would have to prove they had what it took to not just survive, but to thrive in this hostile universe. The viewport showed the incoming Council fleet, hundreds of ships strong, bearing down on their position. But Alina felt no despair. She looked around at her crew, humans who had been born and raised for this moment, enhanced and trained to face any challenge. She thought of the alien resistance fighters, seeing hope for the first time in generations. And she thought of Earth, the home they had lost and the future they were fighting for. "All hands, battle stations," Alina commanded, her voice ringing with authority. "Today we remind the galaxy that humanity is not so easily erased. Today we begin our journey home." As the Nova Terran fleet moved to engage the Council armada, the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The battle that would decide the fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was about to begin. The Great Offensive. The battle above the unnamed star system raged for days, a titanic clash that would be remembered for centuries to come. The Council fleet, despite its numerical superiority, found itself outmaneuvered and outgunned by the smaller but technologically superior Nova Terran forces. Commander Alina Vega's strategic brilliance, combined with the enhanced abilities of soldiers like Zhou Chen, turned what should have been a decisive Council victory into a staggering defeat. As the last Council dreadnought fell silent, its hull breached and its crew surrendering, Alina allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. But she knew this was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, news of humanity's return and their victory over Council forces spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The Nova Terran fleet, bolstered by their new alien allies, embarked on a campaign that would shake the foundations of Council rule. On the bridge of the Nemesis, now the flagship of the combined resistance fleet, Alina studied the galactic map. Holographic representations of battles won and territories liberated glowed blue, while vast swaths of Council-controlled space pulsed an ominous red. "Report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of countless decisions and sleepless nights. "Admiral Tanaka, his uniform bearing new marks of rank gifted by their alien allies, stepped forward. The Arcturus campaign was a success, Commander. 3 more systems liberated, and a major council shipyard captured intact. Elena nodded, her eyes never leaving the map. And our losses? Minimal, Tanaka replied, a note of pride in his voice. The new shield technology reverse-engineered from Forerunner designs is proving highly effective. Our casualty rates are a fraction of what we anticipated. As if on cue, Zhou Chen entered the bridge, her combat armor bearing scorch marks from recent action. Commander, Alpha Squad has successfully completed its mission. The Council's primary cloning facility in the Vega sector has been destroyed. Elena allowed herself a small smile. The destruction of that facility would cripple the Council's ability to rapidly replace troops in that entire quadrant. Excellent work, Major Chen. Get your team some rest. I have a feeling we'll need you again soon. As Zhou saluted and left, Ambassador Xandrel slithered onto the bridge, its iridescent scales shimmering under the lights. Commander Vega, a word if I may. Elena gestured for the alien diplomat to join her at the tactical display. What's on your mind, Ambassador? Xandrel's multifaceted eyes blinked rapidly, a sign Elena had learned indicated concern. Our intelligence networks are buzzing, Commander. Word of your victories has spread to even the most remote corners of Council space. Rebellions are erupting on 100 worlds. But the Council is responding with increasing brutality. Elena finished, her jaw tightening. The ambassador's body rippled in agreement. Precisely. They're resorting to tactics not seen since the early days of their expansion. Entire populations are being purged to deny us potential allies. Elena's fists clenched at her sides, memories of Earth's destruction flashing through her mind. Then we need to step up our timetable. We can't afford a drawn-out war of attrition if innocent lives are paying the price. She turned to Admiral Tanaka. Prepare the fleet for immediate departure. We're taking the fight directly to the Council's core worlds. Tanaka's eyes widened. Commander, with all due respect, that's incredibly risky. We've been making excellent progress with our current strategy of letting billions die while we play it safe. Elena cut him off, her voice sharp. She took a breath, forcing herself to calm down. I understand your concerns, Admiral, but every day we delay is another day the Council has to regroup, to fortify. We have the momentum now, and we need to use it. She turned back to the galactic map, her finger tracing a path through heavily defended Council space. We'll strike here, and here in rapid succession. Heavily populated worlds, but also key military installations. We'll force the Council to divide its forces, to show the galaxy that nowhere is safe from our reach. As her staff began to frantically plan for the new offensive, Elena felt a presence at her side. It was Zhou, who had quietly returned to the bridge. You're worried, Zhou stated simply, her enhanced senses picking up on Elena's micro-expressions. Elena nodded, keeping her voice low. We're about to plunge the galaxy into chaos, Zhou. Trillions of lives hang in the balance. If we fail, we won't, Zhou replied, her voice filled with the unshakable confidence of youth. This is what we were born for, what we've trained for our entire lives. The Council thought they could wipe us out, that they could play God with entire species. It's time they learned the cost of their arrogance. Elena studied the young soldier, seeing in her the fire that burned in all of Novaterra's children. It was a fire that Elena had helped ignite, a driving force that had brought them to this moment. But as she looked out at the stars, at the vast galaxy that would soon be engulfed in war, she couldn't help but wonder about the price of vengeance. The next months were a blur of constant action. The Novaterran fleet, now at the head of a vast armada of resistance ships, cut a swath through Council space. World after world fell or was liberated, depending on one's perspective. The Council's mighty warfleets, once thought invincible, were shattered against the rock of human determination and Forerunner-derived technology. Elena found herself in the thick of the action more often than not. On the jungle world of Exarchon, she led a ground assault against a council stronghold, fighting alongside towering alien warriors and her own enhanced human troops. In the space above Galtos Prime, she commanded the fleet in a battle that would be studied in war colleges for centuries to come. But it was on the ash-choked world of Tora II that Alina faced her greatest test. The Council, pushed to desperation, had unleashed a superweapon capable of stripping the atmosphere from entire planets. Millions had already died, and billions more were at risk. In a daring raid, Alina led a small team including Zoe and a diverse group of alien allies in an attack on the weapons control center. As they fought their way through waves of Council defenders, Alina couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. Humans and aliens fighting side by side, united against a common foe. It was everything she had hoped for when they first emerged from cryo sleep on Novaterra. The final push to the control room was brutal. Alina watched as allies fell, their sacrifices ensuring that the rest of the team could push forward. When they finally breached the inner sanctum, they found themselves face to face with High Counselor Vex'ahlia, one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The avian alien's feathers were ruffled, its usually immaculate robes stained with dust and blood. But its eyes burned with fanatical intensity as it regarded the intruders. "So," Vex'ahlia hissed, "the great Commander Vega, the human who would overthrow the natural order of the galaxy." Alina stepped forward, her weapon trained on the counselor. "Natural order? You mean the order where you decide which species live or die? Where you play God with entire civilizations?" Vex'ahlia's beak clicked in what might have been amusement. "We brought peace to a chaotic galaxy. We uplifted primitive species, guided the worthy to enlightenment. And how do you repay us? With war, with destruction." "You brought stagnation," Alina countered. "You enslaved those you claimed to uplift. And when humanity refused to bow to your whims, you tried to wipe us out. But we survived. We endured. And now we're going to ensure that no species ever suffers under your tyranny again." The counselor's talons tightened on a control panel. "You understand nothing, human. Without the council, without our guiding hand, the galaxy will descend into chaos. Countless species will die in the anarchy you create." "Maybe," Alina admitted, "but they'll die free with the chance to shape their own destinies. It's time for your reign to end, Counselor." What happened next was a blur of motion. Vex'ahlia lunged for the controls, its talons aiming for a large red button that Alina instinctively knew would spell doom for millions. Zoe, moving with enhanced speed, fired a precision shot that shattered the counselor's hand. As Vex'ahlia screeched in pain and rage, Alina's team swarmed the control center, securing the superweapon and taking the counselor into custody. In that moment, as alarms blared and the realization of victory washed over her, Alina felt a profound sense of change. The galaxy would never be the same after this day. Hours later, as the Nemesis cruised away from Tora II, Alina stood in her private quarters, watching the planet recede in the distance. The door chimed, and she called for the visitor to enter. It was Ambassador Xandrel, its body undulating in a way that Alina had come to recognize as excitement. "Commander, I bring news. With the capture of High Counselor Vex'ahlia and the destruction of their superweapon, the Council's remaining forces are in disarray. Worlds are declaring independence by the hour. I think we've won." Alina turned from the window, her expression a mixture of relief and uncertainty. "Have we, Xandrel? We've defeated the Council. Yes, but now comes the hard part. Building a new galactic order, one that learns from the mistakes of the past." The ambassador's scales shimmered as it considered her words. "You're right, of course. But thanks to you, thanks to humanity's return, we have a chance to build something better. Something just." As Xandrel left, Alina's thoughts turned to the future. The war was all but won, but the real challenge lay ahead. How would humanity fit into this new galactic community? How could they ensure that the cycle of oppression and violence didn't simply begin anew? She thought of Earth, of the home they had lost so long ago. They had fought this war to avenge that loss, to ensure that no other species would suffer as they had. But in doing so, they had changed. Humanity had evolved, both physically and philosophically. They were no longer simply the children of Earth, but something more, guardians of a free galaxy. As the Nemesis jumped to FTL, heading towards the next challenge, Alina made a silent vow. They would build a better future, not just for humanity, but for all sentient beings. The age of the Council was over. The age of cooperation, of true galactic civilization, was about to begin. Reckoning. The great hall of Nexus Station hummed with nervous energy. Representatives from hundreds of species, former council members and resistance fighters alike, filled the vast chamber. At the center, on a raised platform, stood Commander Elena Vega, her presence commanding attention even among this diverse gathering of galactic leaders. It had been 6 months since the fall of the Galactic Council. 6 months of chaos, of power vacuums and local conflicts, of species tasting freedom for the first time in millennia. Now they had gathered to determine the future of the galaxy. Helena took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the assembled crowd. She saw familiar faces. Ambassador Xandrel, its scales shimmering with anticipation. Zhou standing at attention with other Novaterran officers, and even former High Counselor Vexalia, now a prisoner but granted permission to observe these proceedings. Esteemed representatives, Elena began, her voice carrying easily through the hall. We stand at a crossroads. The Galactic Council, for all its faults, maintained a semblance of order for countless generations. With its fall, we face both great opportunity and great danger. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, but Elena pressed on. We fought for freedom. Freedom from oppression, from the threat of extinction, from the tyranny of those who would play God with entire civilizations. But freedom without responsibility, without cooperation, is merely chaos. She gestured to the holographic display behind her, showing a map of the known galaxy. Already, we see the signs of fracture. Border disputes, resource conflicts, old grudges resurfacing. If we do not act now, we risk plunging the galaxy into an age of darkness that could last for millennia. A reptilian being from the former Council world stood, its voice hissing through translator nodes. And who are you to decide the fate of the galaxy, human? Your kind was absent for 50,000 years. What right do you have to dictate terms to species that have ruled the stars since before your ancestors crawled from the oceans? Elena met the alien's gaze steadily. We claim no right to rule. Humanity has seen firsthand the cost of tyranny, the pain of near extinction. We fought not to replace the Council, but to ensure that no species would ever again face what we faced. She turned, addressing the entire assembly. What I propose is not a new empire, not a human-led council. I propose a galactic federation, a union of free worlds, where every species has a voice, where the strong protect the weak, and where we face the challenges of the cosmos together. The hall erupted in a cacophony of voices, some supportive, others skeptical or outright hostile. Elena let the debate rage, watching as alliances formed and fractured in real time. This was democracy in action, messy and chaotic, but filled with potential. As the arguments reached a fever pitch, an unexpected voice cut through the noise. It was Vexalia, the former High Counselor, its once proud feathers now dull and unkempt. You fools, it croaked, drawing all eyes to its diminished form. You think you can build a better galaxy on the ashes of the old order. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have guided the destiny of trillions. Your federation will collapse under its own weight, torn apart by the very freedoms you champion. Elena stepped towards Vexalia, her voice low but carrying in the sudden silence. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps we will fail. But we will fail trying to build something better, something just. That's the difference between us, Counselor. You saw the galaxy as something to be controlled. We see it as something to be nurtured. She turned back to the assembly. The path ahead will not be easy. We will face challenges that test our resolve, our principles. But together, united in purpose if not always in method, we can forge a future brighter than anything the Council could have imagined. Over the next days, debates raged and compromises were forged. Alina found herself at the center of it all, mediating disputes between former enemies, offering the wisdom earned through humanity's long struggle. Slowly, painfully, a framework for the new Galactic Federation took shape. Key among its tenets was the principle of self-determination. No species would be forced to join, but all would be welcome. A council of representatives would make decisions by consensus, with safeguards to protect minority voices. And at the heart of it all was a solemn vow. Never again would genocide be tolerated. Never again would a species face extinction for refusing to bow to another's will. As the final charter was drawn up, Alina stood with Zoe and Sandrel, watching the representatives file in to sign the document. "Do you think it will work?" Zoe asked, her enhanced eyes picking up the subtle body language of the various aliens. Alina sighed, feeling the weight of the future on her shoulders. "It has to. The alternative is too terrible to contemplate." Sandrel's body rippled in what Alina had come to recognize as its version of a nod. "It will not be easy. Old hatreds run deep, and there are those who will resist change. But for the first time in living memory, there is hope." As the signing ceremony concluded, Alina found herself face to face with Vex'ahlia once more. The former counselor regarded her with a mixture of resignation and grudging respect. "You've won, Commander Vega," it said, its voice barely above a whisper. "But victory often carries a greater burden than defeat. I wonder if you're prepared for what comes next." Alina met its gaze steadily. "No one is ever truly prepared for the future, Counselor. But we'll face it together, as equals. That's something your council never understood." As Vex'ahlia was led away, Alina's thoughts turned to the challenges ahead. The Federation was born, but it was fragile, untested. It would need guidance, protection, and above all, it would need hope. In the following weeks, as news of the Federation spread across the galaxy, Alina found herself becoming a symbol. To many, she represented the promise of a new era, a bridge between the races of the galaxy. It was a role she accepted with reluctance, but also with determination. On the eve of her departure from Nexus Station, Alina stood before the Earth monument that had been installed in the main concourse. It was a perfect holographic recreation of humanity's lost homeworld, eternally spinning, a reminder of what had been lost and what they fought to protect. "It's beautiful," came a voice from behind her. Alina turned to see a young alien, its species one she didn't recognize. "Is it true that this was your homeworld?" Alina nodded, a sad smile on her face. "Yes, long ago. We lost it, but in losing it, we found a greater purpose." The young alien's eyes widened. "Will you go back, now that the council is gone?" "Someday," Alina replied, her gaze returning to the hologram. "But Earth is more than just a planet now. It's an idea. The idea that no matter how dark the night, there's always hope for a new dawn." As she spoke, Alina realized the truth in her words. Humanity had evolved beyond the need for a single homeworld. They had become citizens of the galaxy, protectors of a fragile peace that spanned the stars. The next day, as the Nemesis prepared to depart, Alina stood on the bridge, surveying her crew. Humans and aliens worked side by side, a living embodiment of the Federation's ideals. Admiral Tanaka approached, offering a data pad. "Our next mission, Commander." Alina took the pad, scanning its contents. Reports of unrest in the outer systems, whispers of holdout council loyalists causing trouble. The work of building a new galactic order was far from over. "Set a course, Admiral," she ordered, her voice filled with quiet determination. "We have a Federation to protect." As the Nemesis jumped to FTL, Alina felt a sense of purpose stronger than any she'd known before. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as guardians. They carried with them the lessons of their past, the strength born from near extinction, and the hope for a future where all sentient beings could live free. The stars streaked by outside the viewport, each one a reminder of the vastness of the cosmos and the challenges that lay ahead. But Elena Vega, commander of the Nova Terran fleet and now a symbol of galactic unity, stood ready to face whatever the universe might throw at them. For they were no longer just the children of Earth. They were the protectors of a free galaxy, the torchbearers of a new era. And as long as a single human drew breath, that torch would never be extinguished. The revenge they had sought for so long had transformed into something greater, a chance to build the kind of galaxy they had always dreamed of. It was a heavy responsibility. But as Elena looked out at the star-filled expanse before her, she knew that humanity was ready for the challenge. The story of their return was over. The story of their legacy was just beginning.